Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Uncommon Comedy Podcast. I am your host, Brian Apprille, and I'm really excited to have today's guest here with us. She is absolutely one of my favorite comedians to watch. I absolutely love her. She makes me laugh so hard. And she's an amazing, amazing comedian. She tours all over the world, and she's also an actor. Absolutely love her. You guys are going to love her too. So let's welcome the one, the only Miss Charlene Mae. Charlene. Hey, how are
What
ya?
an intro. My God.
Hi. You know,
Like-
we try to
There we
just make it look all snazzy.
Wait.
How are
hold
you?
on. I'm good. I'm trying to get this right. Right?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
She's an actor. You know.
I'm in
Gotta
my
look good.
bedroom. My sister's
There you
bedroom.
go.
Okay.
Very cool. So how are you doing?
Well, some of us are quarantined and we're happy because we're like, I get to do anything I want, and we can, right? Because except
Yep.
if you're introverted, which most comedians are, you're just like, what? I get to be by myself and not have to go anywhere and write, and it's like amazing. And then some of us I had to come to Georgia to take care of a little messy problem I had, and then I couldn't get back to California. So I've been here for a month.
Wow.
Which
That
is supposed to
sounds
be
like the mafia right there. Little
exactly
messy problem.
That's what
Something fell off the truck. You know.
That's right.
I hope
I
that.
got a letter. I got a fish in the mail, and I'm like, okay, someone's swimming with the fishes. I better
There you
go.
go.
Yeah, no.
There you go. So your problem's been handled.
Well, my problem's been handled, but now I'm here, and until I can quarantine myself when I get back, I'm here. And then they I don't think people knew, but in LAX they shut down flights. Like they stopped doing flights to LAX.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Wow.
I did not know
you
that.
Are stuck. You are stuck in Georgia.
So I'm a little stuck. So I'm with my family.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
That's yeah.
They're making me crazy.
Well, yes.
I haven't been here in 10 years with my family this much. I came for Christmas, and for Christmas you can ignore everything because it's fa la la and ho 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 and
Right.
cookies, and you don't notice the crazy.
Right.
When you're here and you can't get out, and everybody can't get out, it's like any minute I'm waiting for my dad to barge in and go, "Who are you talking to? What are you doing in there?" Like if I would be talking to say I was on a Zoom meeting with the president of the United States, I'd be like, Dad, I'm talking. What is this bum? Are you talking to this bum? I'm like, Dad, he can hear you. I don't care. Is he cheating you out of your money? I'm like, oh my God.
I totally wouldn't do that. I promise. It would be totally amazing.
Well, I didn't mean the president of the United States. I should have said that. I meant the president of a company, or I'm talking to my boss.
Yeah, no, I know. Just
anyway.
Just
but that was
going
good.
on.
I liked it.
Yeah,
I liked it. I
so we do. So I remember the first time I saw you and I met you was at a clean comedy conference, and you went up and absolutely killed it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love this comedian. She's amazing. And it's interesting because you're not necessarily you can work clean, but you also don't work clean. So there's there are times that you're at other clubs and you're not as clean or whatever, but it just shows that like working clean is really hard for a lot of people to do, and you can see them struggle with it, but you pulled it off amazingly. And I absolutely love you. The biggest thing I would say about your act is the fact that you, I grew up in Boston, so I'm East Coast. So you have this sweet, lovable style that's really funny, but you're also extremely bitter and sarcastic, which, it's this weird balance that you have where it's like the sweet and this bitter, like sarcastic thing. I don't know how you pull it off, but it just fills my soul with joy because that's, where I'm from.
I really think it's like one, I think it's my family. Now that I'm here, there's nothing, they do not answer anything unless it's sarcasm.
Okay.
They don't answer a question. They're always having something to say that's awful, or like, you're like, can I use the car? I'm like, oh, can I use the car? Can I mooch food? Can I do this? You're like, can I just have the car without you saying, can I have a ride? Oh, can you? Oh, can you have a ride? I'm like, I don't know. Or I said, Dad, can I have a ride? And he's like, oh, here we go. Just want a ride. And then I'll go, forget it. And he goes, oh, now you don't want a ride? What, do you make up your mind? Are you crazy? I'm like, you're making me crazy. But there's never a straight answer. And I was like, well, that's just who they are. But I also think growing up, I mean, look at my face. And I grew up in like Cracktown in Boston. I grew up around druggies and poverty, but they used to call me Ghetto Gidget because they were like, you're like people would, I would go somewhere and say they're doing crack, and I'm young. And I'm young. I mean, I'm talking like we're gonna go to the gas station and we climb up into the ceiling. My aunt's like, let's go, we're gonna visit. And then we're climbing up in the ceiling and it's a little room and the guy's doing crack. And I'm like, hi. And he's like, you're a cute. I'm like, thank you. Got my little dress. But it's like I never really did that stuff. And I was so afraid of like, I'm like, I will never do any of those drugs, you know. So thank God I grew up in that. But it was hard to like, because everyone would always be like, treated me like, oh no, she doesn't do this. She's our cute little light.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
They're
So
very protective of you.
yeah, so I could have gone anywhere, and it was like I could be surrounded by the things you would not think someone should be surrounded by when they were younger. Does that
But
make
you were
sense?
totally safe. Yeah,
But I was
absolutely.
totally like, yeah, it's okay. You know what I mean? Like, I'll get the baby while you guys go do some drugs. That's cool. You know what I mean? Or whatever. I'll make spaghettios for all 8 of your children. Are all these your children? Oh no, they're the neighbors. Got it. I'm 4 too, but I'll make dinner. You know, I don't know. So, which is all, I'm like laughing because it's all coming back. So I was thinking about, so anyway, I feel like, you know, we used to watch gang fights, but I think to myself, wow, you know what I mean? I was young.
Yeah.
So I think that sarcastic, bitter, but cuteness, I guess.
Where in Boston were you? Were you Dorchester or?
Oh, no. I laugh because everyone in California always says that, like, everybody's from Dorchester, Marky
Right.
Mark, like, well, you know, because you're from Boston.
Yeah.
But I always go, no. So it wasn't that. It was basically, I don't know if you know, like, Lawrence
Oh yes.
Methuen.
Oh
Yeah.
yes.
So,
Lawrence Lowell Methuen. Yep.
yeah. So Lawrence was like a lot of, you know, I mean, I had 7 bikes stolen,
Wow.
2 while I was on it.
That's not surprising. Okay, so yeah, that's yeah, Lawrence is there's like 3. There's Dorchester, then you get the Lowell Lawrence, and then
Yep.
you go Lynn. Lynn,
Exactly.
you know,
That's it.
those are the
were all the
3.
drug
Yeah.
places we would go. No, I was kidding.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, I just don't have a memory. Go ahead.
No, so that's fine. I was just curious. So what kind of inspired you to get into stand up then?
I think to diffuse people, and sometimes it could like people would be, I don't know. I think it was a way to diffuse people or situations that were a little scary.
Mm-hmm.
So I would make everybody laugh, like the gang members or whatever was happening. I would just be like, hey, well, and they would like, what is going on here? And I would just like, I don't know. I would just say something about their gang member uniform or whatever. I'm just trying to remember, or whatever. Not gang. It sounds like some sort of Spike Lee movie, but it wasn't that it was gangs. It was just like the tough kids on
Right.
the neighborhood, and they would like beat you up. So I would diffuse them by making them laugh.
Gotcha.
So, and then making my family laugh and my aunt laugh. Um, I know, you know, but sometimes you tell people stories and they go, that's so sad. And you're like, oh, I thought it was hilarious. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Not funny.
What do you remember your first show?
My first show. Well, I actually, do you know the Boston Comedy Connection?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I
that's
loved one of my favorite clubs in the country before it shut down. So
yeah. Well, no, I started there. I started when I think it was 17. I took the train in, and to take the train in by yourself is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the only way I was getting into Boston. So I took it to Faneuil Hall, and then I just went and I asked for a job. So I ended up working there as a ticket girl.
Okay.
I lied about my age. But then when I kept seeing like DJ Hazard, you knew all these names, Mike McDonald, like
Yeah.
I was so like, oh, you know, because these guys are from the Ding Ho and Lenny Clark, and they're tough. Colin Quinn. I remember them all. And I remember going, there's no way. So I would try to like go to other places to do comedy. So I remember it was, but my first place, by the way, was the China Blossom Route 125. And then it was also another place I started was the steakhouse off of
93.
93.
Yeah.
And my aunt was in
Comedy
the
Palace.
crowd. My aunt was in the crowd, and I bombed.
Yeah.
And my aunt was like, "Tell him the crack story." And I was like, you know, Auntie. And they all came, and all those little mafia people came to see me. And they were buying drinks for everybody. She's my goddaughter. We're buying drinks for everyone. And then it was later, it was like, she's not that funny, but you know, you're like, well,
Yeah.
it's my first, you know, first time. What am I
Yeah.
supposed, you know? But people don't realize that, you know, you can't be yourself. It takes years to be yourself. So the first time you're nervous and you're scared and you're trying to get your jokes, you know.
Well, and it's weird because it's one of the few professions that you have to practice in front of the same people, you know, live. You know, it's not like if you're learning a guitar or an instrument, you can be at home and practice that. Comedy, you have to be there's no real difference between practice and performing. Like that's it. You're out there getting those reps in.
Do you find like somebody wants me to, I did a couple live shows, not live shows, but the Zoom shows.
Mm-hmm.
I was like,
they're awful.
They're awful. And even seasoned comedians, they were doing their jokes, but I really wasn't laughing. Stop it! It's like they hover around you like you're a moon.
Yes.
I have nowhere else to go. None of my family. And I'll be noticing I can go in the dining room and they'll all come. And then they'll like hover around me. I'll be on the phone. I'm like, why is everyone near me? Anyway, sorry. So that's a dog. Okay. That's a dog trying to get in. So yes. So they want me to do like my stand-up show. And I was practicing to do it. They said, you can just tape it, self-tape, you know, send us the show. I'm like, I feel like an idiot. Like I feel like I'm 6 years old in my bedroom. Hey, how about you guys? You know what I mean? What's up with dating and COVID-19, you know?
Yeah, it's awful. I've been asked to do, I think 5 or 6 of them. And I'm like, no, I refuse. Cause I've seen a couple and they're terrible. And as comedians, we know, you know, as seasoned comedians, you go, all right, so no laughter, no interaction. And then even if they do have the mics on, the mics are going to clip each other from the people if they do laugh. And they also don't have that same, there's no one next to them laughing to build that, you know, like it's
right.
You know, that atmosphere where you hear somebody laugh, so you laugh, and then it just builds and builds and builds. And it's just,
well, you know, plus nobody's going to laugh.
Right.
Right? Because isn't that what comedy club is set up to do? Is you're laughing sort of in the dark. So if you're embarrassed to laugh at a certain joke, you're not. You're free to kind of, you know what I mean? But if people are staring at you, you're kind of more, and then you notice they're not reacting. It's a herd.
Yes, absolutely. And that's why, like, this is for people who do comedy and who just like comedy. And that's why, like, comedy clubs are generally really dark, because it's a psychological thing. Like you said, when you feel anonymous and people can't see you, you're more willing to laugh about something as opposed to going, oh, everyone can see I'm laughing. Should I be laughing about this? I don't know. And so it just allows you to just kind of like loose. And so with the Zoom calls, everybody's face is up there and they're like, I don't want to be seen laughing at this. I shouldn't be laughing at this. They get all self-conscious and it's like, no, laugh.
Yeah.
But yeah, I refuse to do those Zoom calls. I was just like, no, I'm good. I've done a couple of like interactive game nights. Like I did one for a group of nurses, which was kind of fun. And so I did a little bit of comedy, but it wasn't like me standing up in front of the fireplace or anything like that. It was just kind of, you just blend it in with your conversation like this. You just kind of throw a joke in and you could see them laughing, you know, and you're like, all right, that's cool.
Well, that's fun.
So how long do you think it took for you for things to click for you comedically?
It doesn't click for me.
That's not true.
No, I think it doesn't. You know what? Hal Sparks, who you know I travel with, and Hal's great. And Hal can do 45 minutes and it's all new material. So you're just going, wow. But I think what clicked for me is when you don't care. But the thing is, you can't trick yourself into not caring. You have to really not care.
Okay.
So I think it took me, but the thing is, when I was better when I first started, and then it felt like it got worse. because you're so like, oh, I'm just being myself, and I don't have really jokes, and I just kind of rant, and but then it's like it gets, I don't know, then you just get it. It's all such a mental game.
Yes.
And that is the hard part. Once you can, I think once you can master the mental part, it starts to click for you. But also, and here's a great analogy, and then I'll let you talk. Because I was a flight attendant, I used to fly with pilots like all the time, meaning I used to talk to them, hang out with them, whatever. And they told me, oh, it's the easiest job in the world, but it's because they have all those hours and they could hear one little thing and they know how to correct it instinctively because they've seen so many things come at them. But if they didn't have that time in the plane, they couldn't be prepared for this weather condition, this thing, that thing, and then they know how to deal with it instinctively. But it's same with comedy. Once you do it so long, you can instinctively know this audience. Boom, I have to go here, change it, move it for the weather conditions, which is an angry crowd, or you know what I mean?
Like, or someone drops something, yeah.
Yes, or you have to throw out this joke that all of a sudden seems, oh my God, she just said that off her head, but it's because you've done 1,000 shows and you literally remember this bit that you had 20 years ago, and you get to pull it to the front, but without all the stage time, that's when it clicks. Yeah. When you have that seasoned experience of, and it doesn't matter. I mean, I just don't think it takes a 10-year, like people say, or a 5-year or 2-year. It really depends on, you know what I'm saying? Like how, because some pilots are better than other pilots. They just don't get it. You know what I mean? And sometimes
sorry, go ahead.
No, that's it. That's it.
Okay. I was just curious, do you, like, I do not like talking with the crowd at all. Like, I want to go say my stuff, get my check, go home, like, and they laugh. You know what I mean? Like, that's me. But some people are like, man, I just want to get out there and talk to the crowd. Are you
I don't want anything to do with those people. Yeah. I really wish it was Jerry Seinfeld, where Jerry is removed and he does sort of like, I started to realize, I think that's why I'm actually better in theaters, because I'm actually a very clean comedian, but I feel like, but at the same time, sometimes when you go in clubs,
yes,
you can feel that you're going to do better if you swear a little bit, if you're a little bit of this, and then I can feel that, and I'll go there, but I don't want to go there, and I don't like to go there. But
sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, but I want their love, which you're not supposed to, but I do. And I don't want to talk to them, and I don't want them to tell me that they are not liking. This isn't a conversation. I don't want to talk to you. I want to perform, and like, I want it to be TV. I want you to sit there, and I can't hear you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But unfortunately you can, and you just see you see this and you hear the, or whatever for me anyway. And it's always interesting that you say, the whole, like, that was the thing. Cause I used to be a dirtier comic. I would swear or whatever and talk a little bit about some stuff, but nothing was never graphic or gross or anything. And you're not that either. And it was just, like you said, there are times where you just feel like, oh, this is what they want. And what I've tried to do for that, because now I just work clean no matter where. And so even like a second show Saturday night, I'm still clean. But when I feel they want that oomph, I just change my tone to more sarcastic, and I put more bite into my act. There's certain topics I want, like, I'm not going to talk about chess on a second show Saturday night, like, because they're not digging that, but my other stuff, I just put a little bit more like attitude into it, and that seems to give them the feel of what they want. And then if I'm on like a super dirty show, what I'll do is I have an anti-dirty joke in the beginning, which I just kind of say, and it kind of lets them know, like, it brings them down from that. Because, once the genie gets out of the bottle with, like sex jokes or whatever, like, that's pretty much where they go and where they want to be. And so I just kind of take them back from that and let them know that, like, okay, I don't really do that. And then it just distinguishes my personality right up front. And then we can go on and I can just do my act, which is kind of nice. So those are some little tips that I've learned out in that. So Let's get back to you because no one cares about me.
No, I care about you.
Oh,
I'm here. No,
You're
they
just
do.
so. Talk to me a little bit about starting out in Boston. I mean, you talked about DJ, and I love DJ. He was amazing.
Well, I mean, I've got the sensibility. I definitely, and I can't change that. I'll just say one thing I do know who I am now is I can't change, like, I'll never be able to change, but I can't change, like, even if I go home, like, say my family, I was like, I'm going to go to a spelling bee and I need my family to come when I'm younger. They would be like, that's so stupid.
Right.
You're going to be so stupid. You're like, what? So I feel like everything is, I'm tougher on, like, myself. Like, if I'm sick, I don't let people know I'm sick. I'm like, oh, it's just whatever. Don't be stupid. It's just COVID-19. I have 190-degree temperature. My God. So yes, I can't breathe or move. You know what I mean? I've got my ventilator. So it's like I'm just sort of that mentality. So I sometimes am tougher on, like, my comedy is like a Bill Burr sensibility of, like, and people will be like, that's, oh my goodness. And I have to dial that back. So that's starting in Boston. That is an East Coast. I mean, it just is. And you better just go with them and get that a toughness a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's all males, especially when I started, it was all males. But then I moved to Georgia. My family had moved to Georgia. So I said, well, I moved not with them. I moved years later. And so I quit comedy, because I did it all around Boston, but it was really tough. And then I started back in the South and I found it a little bit easier in the South.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because I don't know why. It's just, it was just easier, I guess. I'm trying to think why. So starting in Boston, I thought was a little tougher, even though I had that sensibility
Right.
of the sarcasm and the sort of Bill Burr, in a female perspective, without being too negative. It's hard to explain, but I'm very edgy, and I come up with things. I go, oh. You know what I mean? Like, I can make, my mom had epilepsy and I would make fun of her. And you can do those things in Boston,
Right.
but you cannot do those things in Georgia.
Right.
But then that, what helps me is learning the balance of making fun of her, but not being mean about it.
Right.
Because it can sound mean up there. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And that's what I'm saying. Starting up there, I thought, was a little, and even if you go to New York Comedy Club, it's still a little bit tougher. I think the people are tougher.
Yeah, and so now you're out in LA. How do you contrast that to the LA scene?
Well, I mean, you sound snobby, but a lot of times you're just like, I don't have time for all of you people. You're all actors. Like, there's so many actors doing their actor thing because their manager said that this would help them. And you have to wait in line and you can't get up. And, you just kind of, like, you can see the difference between the stand-ups and people who really are just shouldn't be there.
Right.
So then it doesn't make comedy fun. I think a little bit. But I mean, LA is not the same. It's not really like, I come to San Diego because San Diego is good for stand-up comedy. Mm-hmm. People are there, they listen. But when in Los Angeles, all industry, you know what I mean? And everyone's like, oh, guess who so-and-so's in the audience. And then after a while, at first you're like, oh, wow. Then you're like, who cares?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Nothing's going to happen. Yeah. Like, and then you're like, I just want an audience. I don't care. And, and then, anyway. So I just feel like being in LA. But, I mean, comedy's comedy. You want to go to Indiana and go to a club? There are people in the audience. They don't.
Right.
They just hate your Trump jokes just like they do in Los Angeles, just like they do in Boston. No, you know what I mean? You get the same groans. I just feel like I don't have Trump jokes, but I'm saying
right.
Sometimes audiences are just audiences.
Yeah, but yeah, I see what you mean about the LA. It's just, they're more focused on themselves and as opposed to what you're trying to do on stage. What is your writing process like as far as material?
Well, now that you ask, I've been writing the crap out of stuff because I just sit there. My family comes and I just literally write because I find, especially being home, I mean, the material is, I mean, it's I mean, just the stuff I'm coming up with, like, I'm going to try to make a bit out of it, but it's like, I don't think people understand what this means. See my big eyes?
Mm-hmm.
That means to stop, right?
Yes.
Do you know what that means to my family? Keep going. And then ask, why are you doing this? And I'm like, in front of, like, so so I'm trying to do a bit because I went to visit this friend of mine who was sick. So I brought my sister, and then she starts on the politics, and I'm like, so she's like, what did I say? Oh, will you just have it? I'm like this, trying to do that. Oh, you have big eyes. I know what those mean. And you're like, well, then let me shut the So I've been like enjoying the fact that's my writing process. So I write constantly what my parents say, what my dad says, there's people steal power here. This is what happens in the end of the world. Your power is stolen constantly by people just unplugging your stuff, walking away, charging their stuff, and then you have to go work and you have 0% because they're like stealing power, like we're animals. So I just feel like those kinds of things, I get frustrated, I write it down, and then I just work something very specific and work it until it's a bit. And then the only way really I can do it is on stage. And then I can find where people laugh, and then I can add things. And it's always like, what does this feel like to me?
Right.
So like, what does it feel like to have my dad constantly follow me around and yell at me? Like, so, you know what I mean? While I'm under quarantine. You know what I mean? And you can't get away from it.
Well, I think that's because people say, how do I connect with people? Because I talk about my facial paralysis or whatever, and I think there's the specific topic, whether it's your dad following you around or what, and just mocking you or whatever, but then there's the underlying theme, which I think people can relate to. So some people may not relate to facial paralysis, but they relate to feeling self-conscious,
right?
And so that's why I think certain material works across all bounds, and it can be specific to you, still have an impact. Like, oh, I have family members who drive me nuts, or they're always doing this to me, and so that's, I think, where it can all link together. It's kind of a cool process.
Well, can I ask? I'm going to turn the interview on you.
All right.
Can I ask? Like, so are you doing? I mean, because now we've been we've been off stage and we've been here with our collective thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you think has anything? And I've seen all of your working on all of your impressions, which are amazing.
Oh, thank you.
No, they are, because you should watch the Daryl Hammond. Did you watch the Daryl Hammond documentary on Netflix?
Oh, I haven't.
Oh, please do.
Oh, okay.
Please do.
Okay.
Because it never mind, it just talks about his abuse as a child, which is heartbreaking and horrible.
Right.
But it just shows I didn't get the depth of his brilliance from mimicry. So, oh God, I don't know what it's called, but it's so good.
I'll find it. Yeah.
And it reminded me of you. So, but I'm like now going, I want to have more fun when I get out. I want to do more impressions. I want to do more. I love doing, accents, and I like being, when I realize I'm more natural when I'm in a scene than I am just saying this joke, this joke, this joke. I want to be in the scene. Steven, stop it! I don't care if he's having a seizure. I'm busy.
Now, see, some people would think that that's harsh, but that's just love.
That's what
that is love.
Because my brother is on the thing saying, your brother's having a seizure, you better come quick. Because I told you, if I'm doing something, if I could be talking to my boss and saying, this is really important interview, and he's going to fire me, my brother would be there mooning me in the back. So I'm saying they're doing this on purpose, and they're making me, and he threw the dog at the door so it would bark. And I've been dealing with this the whole interview. So it's like, that's what they do. That's what I'm trying to tell you. This is what my family does. There's 6 of us. We're all Catholics. East Coast crazy people.
There's nothing more enjoyable than poking at other family members.
Exactly. torturing.
My family's the same way. You put us in a room, it's just we're always at each other. But the nice thing is, if someone attacks the family, like, oh no, you all go and it's over.
Sir, we're very Italian. We're very Italian.
Mm.
I can talk about my daughter and how she's a piece of. You don't talk to my.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm sorry, you were saying you're talking about being more into and in the scene.
No, I was just saying I've been really thinking about what would make me happy. What do I want? I hope people. I mean, how could you not reflect? Like, what does it mean? And when we get back out there, what is it? You know what I mean? What do you want to do? That's what I'm saying. If you have had any thoughts about things you like, things you want to do more of with your comedy.
I agree with you. I think this is one of the best things about the whole pandemic is, there are a lot of people who unfortunately lost their jobs, but there are some people who didn't like doing what they were doing. This gives them an opportunity to maybe start up a business or chase their dream or whatever, For me personally, I was like, what am I going to do for material? Like you just get in those certain points in your life. You go, do I want to continue doing this? And I think I want to do more voices, and I want to do more of a frantic version of it, where they're just going in and out and in between. And, I definitely went, okay, I'm done with the fat jokes. I'm done with the fat jokes. Like I've been doing them forever. I mean, they're great and all, but I'm just like, okay, I don't want to talk about that anymore. Yeah. So I definitely started to do that. And then I was like, I'm going to write a new hour, and I started to fill out this notebook. And then a couple weeks in, I was like, I'm good. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see when we get back out there. But I definitely want to have more fun, and I definitely want to try a different style of comedy, which is hard because it's like you have this one style that works so well. Like I just talked to Brian Kiley, whom I love, and I said, I watch him, and I want to develop like 5 minutes of like setup punch the way Brian Kiley does, and it's just because he's masterful, and it's just another challenge. I think it's just something to keep it fresh and different. That's kind of my just kind of evolve as comedians.
Sure. Well, I also think like you said, I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's just, you just have to be yourself.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then sometimes you realize you're being a version of yourself.
Yeah.
And then you know what I'm saying? Instead of, like you're saying, the fat jokes. I mean, I did short jokes, and then I do these Disney jokes because I work on a Disney show,
right?
And I work with children, and I, do that. But what I realize is, I'm like, there's so much more depth into really working with Disney, and not just the surface stuff,
right?
You know what I mean? What is it really? You know what I mean? Like I've been like saying, it is funny. The kids always want to play with me, and that's one of my jokes. So it's not really a short joke, but I'm like, what is it really like to work with Disney children? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
What is it really like to be, make, $200 a day while these people are making like $25,000?
Yeah. Well, and
you
that's
know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Anyway. Like that's what I kind of want to do, like the facial paralysis too. I want to make it bigger and more in depth and really get into it, because I really want to go around and help people and get them to laugh. Like that's such an important thing to me, to help other groups that may or may not be accounted for in normal life.
Well, my sister had that. She had that for like a year.
And
I mean, so she would relate, or my other sisters haven't got. I mean, you should talk about your bypass surgery. You don't have to, but I'm saying it's not a fat joke. It is actually helping people that are going through that. Like my sister's going through that, and she's feeling this or whatever. So I think sometimes, it's not about like, that's what I'm saying. Like you were saying, I don't want to just do short jokes that are like, oh, okay, that's cutesy, but how do I delve into this
the short
more?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Like we were talking about, what's the underlying theme of it? So it's not just that I'm fat, it's more of the, what's the feeling behind it, and the insecurities or whatever that is. Yeah. Which is cool. So I love asking this question. It's one of my favorite questions of all. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
What was your worst show ever?
What was my worst show ever? Oh, So many.
How much
Well,
time
let's
do
just
we
say
have? Yeah.
no. Let's just say there's two, but there's two. But if I go up on stage, sometimes my mind will be like, "Remember that show? Remember it? Remember that show that was so horrible? I hope that doesn't happen again." And you're like, "What the? Stop that!" So one of them is okay. It's I've never told anybody this. My friend said, "Why don't you do this big fundraiser? Not a fundraiser, but it's for like the it was for it was just for a club, like a Rotary club, but it was like packed, and it was Future Businesses of America, and it was the whole town." She's like, "You'll get $200. You know, they want you to interact with every single person in the show." So I mean, I researched it. This is a real corporate show. It's my first corporate show. I said, "Okay." So, and she's like, "If it's not much money." So I'm like, "Well, that's good, because then I get to practice without feeling the stress of it's a lot of money."
Mm-hmm.
So I asked my friend who's a corporate comedian. I'm like, "Well, how do I interact? What do I do?" So I'm literally, so I get up there and I immediately shut down one of the biggest business guys in all of Los Angeles. Like, he's the owner of all of Chevron, or he's like the CEO. I shut him down and I go, "Why don't you go sit next to the Dollar Tree people?" And I was kind of going back and forth, and it was working great. And then all of a sudden, I went to jab at somebody else, and it bombed. And then I was like, "Well, it's so and so and so and so," and then that bombed. And then it just, I started to go, "Let me go to my act." And then my act, I got like 3 laughs, but then I was like, "What am I going to talk about, my boyfriend? Like, what? They don't want to
Right.
hear about my boyfriend." And then I couldn't talk. Like, I was like, so thank you, everyone." And I was up there probably 3 minutes. And then I got my check in front of everybody and walked off. And she was like, everyone, what? And I just literally ran away. And to this day, though, if I go by that place, which I have to go to work sometimes, I just think, there's that place. There's what I did. And the shame is undeniable. And sometimes if I have to do a show where somebody it's weird, because mine's mental. Like, if somebody counts on me, like, "Oh, everyone said you were hilarious, so we got all of our 45-year-old ladies to come up here and talk about your Botox and stuff. We're all excited. I've told everybody, everyone thinks you're hilarious." Like, they don't even know me. I will almost stutter a little bit. I have to work to get through it.
Wow.
But if you tell me I suck, I'm there. But
Yeah.
I'll remember that show.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was torture.
And it just keeps, and it chirps at you all the time, right? Just,
yeah.
"Oh,
And
hey,
I can say,
remember that?"
and I don't know if, do you have time for the other time I bombed real quick?
Oh,
No?
yeah, absolutely. There's always time
All
for
right.
that.
I beat out 800 people, all 800 comedians all over this country to go to a festival. 800. I get there. There's 1,500 people in the audience. And one of the biggest comedians, I'm not going to say who he is, he's huge. He was pacing. I'm about to go on stage. He's pacing back and forth. I'm like, "What's wrong?" He goes, "Oh my God, I haven't been this nervous since I first started comedy. I haven't been this nervous since I was a POW in Vietnam. I haven't been this nervous since I did my 18th Letterman." I'm like, "Why? Man, ladies and gentlemen, Charlene, Stephen Wright, your heroes are in the audience. Come on out." I bombed.
Oh, no.
I stuttered. I was like, what? I got through a couple jokes, and then I got off. I was only there 3 minutes.
Wow.
I was supposed to be there like 8. And usually that's what I would do. Like, I get scared and I bail, because I couldn't, nothing was coming. It didn't matter. I could stay up there for 3 minutes more, but I would be like this.
Yeah.
Play with my hair in front of 1,500. I still, to this day. But after you do something like that, I will tell you, there's a freedom.
Right.
There is a freedom of, like, and this was me. After I go, if you quit now, you can't get back on.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is like getting, kicked off the horse. The horse kicks you in the face. And then you're like, you don't get back. Right back on this horse.
Right.
You will forever be the person that was kicked in the face by the horse. So it's like, I just got right back on.
It's interesting, because I remember Dane Cook told a story about that, where he did a battle of the bands back in Great Woods concert hall in Mansfield,
Ooh.
Massachusetts, right?
Ooh.
And he got booed off stage. And he said, you know, once you get booed off stage by 4,000 people, what do you fear? You know what I mean? Like, you have to get back on and do that. He goes, but it was that same thing of like, it was freeing, you know, that you fail that on that scale that you're like, well, nothing's going to be worse than that. So it kind of frees you up to be like, all right, let's go do this.
Well, but isn't that the illusion of comedy real quick? The illusion is you're on 1 minute, you're the best thing ever and you're hilarious and you're killing it. And the next minute it's like,
I have no idea what I'm doing.
You're at home with your family in quarantine and they're booing you as you walk to the kitchen.
Yep. That's, as I call it, comedy punches you in the face. You know, you're like,
and then it licks you.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, ew, stop touching me.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, I'm going to teach you a lesson. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's really hard sometimes to maintain your confidence because of the ups and downs. It's such a weird industry. So now before quarantine, you, like I said, you tour with Hal Sparks. How did you end up touring for a national act, and what is that like?
I can tell you Hal Sparks is, I couldn't say enough positive things about him. If you don't know him, he's from Disney's Lab Rats. He did Queer as Folk. His audiences were always so easy, you know, kind of wasn't fair because the people he drew out were loving and just wanted you to succeed and just, you know, and then he, you know, and I started with him 10 years ago. So it was like right when I got to Los Angeles. I started, and thank God I'd had 7 years on the road because I probably wouldn't have gotten that. But I still had quit for 3 or 4 years. So I had like a lull in that between when I started back up again. So I kind of had to get my sea legs, and he gave me permission to fail. And I failed many times with him, and he'd be like, you're funny. You just like, it's like he believed in me, even though I wasn't ready 10 years ago. And now, you know, I've been his act, you know, ever since opening and, you know, traveling with him. And, you know, he has other features, which I didn't know. I'm like, oh, here are other features. But I mean, definitely any show that I've done with him has been amazing. He's taken me all over the country, and, you know, he's been a great, I mean, he's taught me, he's the one that taught me about not caring and about how to, take the joke. You know, one of the things he told me is, okay, you say you're going to write a joke about chickens and a farm. Just take it and run with it. It doesn't matter. Just add chickens and eggs and add everything you can think of with a farm, and even be in your imagination. And you know what I mean? Until there's like, you're like, it's the most ridiculous. And then you'll pull stuff out. So he's kind of taught me how to write that way, which is just to, you know, follow everything that comes after in your brain. You know what I mean? Like don't just start off with this joke and then you'll end up with something different. Anyway, because he can do that. He can rant and, you know, and he can feel it in his body, and I can see him.
Yeah, he's amazing. I love his energy. He's a high energy. I love them. He's great. So because a lot of people don't know what a typical week is like out on the road. They just go to the show and they go back. So what is a typical week like out on the road for you?
Well, I did the road for 10 years straight. And that was comedy and even being a flight attendant. And I mean straight. And I mean to the point where I would wake up in the middle of the night, I'd get out of my bed and fall because I didn't know where the bathroom was, and I was on the wrong side thinking I was in a different hotel, bumping into things, confused. And it's just it's like airport, hotel, comedy club, some stupid museum that you toured that day before you get to the club. It's like you are learned to be by yourself because you eat by yourself, and then, you know, you work out, you're on the road. So everything is sort of like, but then after you travel all over the country, like you're in Indiana, then Tampa, and then Boston, because of like, you know, because of like all the restaurants and movies and food, it is literally like you're in the same thing because everything's the same. It's like you're going to see the same darn Starbucks that's going to go to your, you know, so I try to go to mom and pop places, but it definitely feels like you're, you know, it's like I just said, airport, hotel, inside a comedy club, chicken fingers for dinner. It's like sort of the Groundhog Day.
Mm-hmm.
of, it's the same stuff at the airlines. You're just running, running, running. And then you get off and you get out of the airport and you don't know if it's going to be too hot or cold and you packed the wrong stuff. And it's kind of like being on vacation every darn week for the rest of your life. Because, then you just, especially when we'll do road gigs. So we would like land in Nebraska, right? And then we go to Idaho, then come back up to whatever and just do this Des Moines, Iowa and do this huge loop, And then we would like road food and we would go get the same, snacks at the 7-Eleven and then, get a bunch of chips. And he would listen to like Ricky Gervais. I listened to a lot of Ricky Gervais podcasts, on your 8-hour drive from gig to gig, sleeping in your car a lot. So you have to pay for a hotel. You check out of your hotel, wait for your plane. So you were like, well, we might as well not get another hotel for tonight. And we just sleep in the car until our plane leaves at 5 a.m. Which is weird because you're a grown person.
Right.
But it's cool. Like I've slept in so many airports. And it doesn't bother me. Huh. Oh yeah, it doesn't bother me like at all. Like just to go especially I have to stand by sometimes for my flights because I get from my friends I get buddy passes. But I just did it like maybe like before I got here I had to stay the night in a hotel in Dallas. And there was nobody in the airport. Nothing was open. I got stuck there. So I'm just saying, but it's normal.
Yeah.
I don't panic about anything. You know what I mean? They could be like, this is where you're going to be for the next 6 months. I'm like, well, let me get my magazine out and read my, whatever. That's it. Anyway, it's like that.
So for the comedians that watch or listen to this, of which there'll be millions, of course.
Millions, yes, of course.
Millions. What are some do's and don'ts when you're working with one on the road and with a national touring act?
Say it again. What is it?
What are some do's and don'ts with being on the road and touring with a national act?
Do's and don'ts. I mean, I just, you just have, you have to be like a person that's like a when in Rome kind of person. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because you're just going to so many different personalities, so many different things. Sometimes they're mean to you. Sometimes they don't have time for you. They don't care about you. And other times they treat you like you're gold. And then, sometimes they have another act it's opening for you that's mad that they're not featuring and they're better than you. Good luck with that. Have fun getting that not bitter pill. And then you got to deal with that. And then you, for some reason, sucked. And then they're like, oh, she's, wasn't even that good. And we shouldn't have her back. And you're just like, what? I had one bad show or two bad shows. And that's where you have to have a good national headliner to stick up for you or, and then you could offend the audience. You know what I'm saying? Like if you say the wrong thing and then that makes Hal look bad.
Right.
So I have to be careful not to make sure I know my audience and make sure because, he does the Queer as Folk. Not that I have any jokes that offend anybody, but I'm saying the point is like I still have to be careful. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. If somebody, because, it's Hal. Somebody could be in the audience with a dress and a tutu and lipstick and I get confused and I just go, huh. And then I'll register, or I'll call like some guy, like, hey, sir. And she's like, I'm a woman. And I go, oh, sorry, sir. I mean, ma'am. Because,
right.
and then I'm like stuttering, but I have to like.
Yeah, protect his brand. Almost.
Protect his. Yeah. And this like you're talking about being clean. Well, kids. He has kids in his show. He was on Disney Live Rats for 8 years.
Yeah.
So can you imagine having a 5-year-old in front of the show? I did, and I was a little risque, and I tried it, and it worked, and I got to play with it. Like I said, I'm going to talk about my girl parts. And I was like, so the mother, so, but it worked, but it could have went the other way,
right?
But. I don't know. I think it's being respectful. And I think a lot of comedians I've seen, just from working at Flappers and booking and people, they're not like, I should have this much time. Why did they get this much time? And I'm supposed to be on 20 minutes and they just cut my time to 15 because he's doing, and they were late. It's like, you have to there is no ego. Mm-hmm. There's, I feel like you just have to go with there's so many crazy things happen.
Right.
You know what I
That's
mean? And then
Yeah,
go
that's
ahead.
great advice. It's because it's not about you. It's about the show. It's about the headliner that they're coming to see or whatever.
And
So
it is. And I haven't gotten paid at times, and then I have to figure that out. And I mean, yes, and then you keep forgetting that they are seeing the headliner. Um, and then you almost have to have you're there to build them up.
right.
But if you have an attitude of it's I don't know. I don't know. I just think you just leave your ego at home with all of it.
Yeah.
Doing. I mean, I tell people, they go, "Oh, I wouldn't do those shows." I was like, I went to San Diego and didn't even watch a show. I mean, wasn't even on Maria's show Maria Herman, our friend.
Hmm.
That's how I met her. I literally just drove 3 hours with my friend just to see if she could meet me, so that I could come back. Came back another 3 hour trip. Same night. Did 5 minutes, but because I met her, it changed my life.
Right.
There's so many people. I wouldn't do that. I'm not driving 6. You're like, dude, if you can't drive 2 hours to San Diego, you can't be on the road.
Right.
You're driving 7 hours from Detroit to Indiana, which I did many times. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Anyway.
Well, we're going to be running out of time soon. So, but what I want to
sorry.
do, I know, no, it's been
Did I
awesome.
ramble? Anyway.
No, not at all. But I want to talk a little bit about the organization. Well, first, before we go, people want to find you on social media. They can go to charlenemay.com, and that's MAE, charlenemay.com. And they can follow you on social media, on Facebook at Charlene Mae, again, MAE, and Instagram at Charlene Comedy.
Yeah, and I don't do Twitter. I know I should. I don't.
Twitter's...
I can't.
Yeah, it's a cesspool. So, but let's talk a little bit about your charity or charity that or an organization that you're into, and that's Dream Center LA. Tell us a little bit about Dream Center.
Well, you know what, and I would have gone to volunteer because let me just make sure I have the right, handle, because I would feel really bad. There's my dyslexia. That's so hilarious. It's the LA Dream Center.
Okay.
But it's on Instagram, and it's a charitable organization, and they just feed people. They've been feeding thousands of people every single day. Thousands coming through. Like 12 hours a day, they just feed them. Don't ask questions, just give them huge meals. And I love that and support that financially. And
how did you get involved in that? How did that become?
It was one of the actors. It was one of the actors on our show. And then I know Patricia Heaton does it. And I know Melissa, what is her last name? Oh my God, Peterman. She was on one of the shows I worked. So, you just, and then you just kind of gravitas towards something that you believe in, because there's so many of them in Hollywood that you could just be like, but I like that one in St. Jude. I mean, I give to St. Jude every month, but
I was checking
local.
out. Yeah, I was checking out Dream Center, and I'm on their website, and it's they serve as a resource center focused on finding solutions to homelessness, hunger, and the lack of education through residential, community, and outreach programs. And this is amazing. Like, they have this Adopt a Block program where they go out and distribute food and hygiene items and other essentials, picking up trash, visiting families door to door. They have a clothing outreach. They have disaster outreach. They have a food truck. They have foster care intervention, human trafficking rescue. They have discipleship. They have these connections. They help people with transition into independent living. They have foster youth, homeless families. They help adult education. They have the kitchen. They have a fitness center and the food bank. Like, it's amazing. It's an incredible organization. So people should definitely check out dreamcenter.org and take a look at that and see some of the cool things that they do. But
that's so sweet that you do a charity. You're so sweet. You're you're such the most loving, kind, sweetheart of a man I've ever met in my life. I'm so blessed to know you. I'm serious.
Oh, thank
I follow
you.
you. I watch how hard you work on your show and your, seriously.
I appreciate that. Well, I appreciate that. And it's about, like I said, once I got sick, my whole attitude kind of changed. It's about trying to help others. And that's the whole point of this podcast, is to talk comedy, but show a little bit behind the comedy, and show, how can we all kind of help and inspire people to helping to give and to do a little bit more. So,
well, if anybody out there, if you have any questions for me, you can just go to my Instagram or Facebook and message me. And I always like talking shop, because I've been in this for 25 years, meaning, I mean, since I was 18, that's all I've ever done. And I booked many shows. I booked thousands of shows because I was also a booker. I also did huge venues. You know what I mean? So I know, I mean, people would always go, who books you? I go, I book me. You know what I mean? I book myself all over the world. I mean, I'm just saying, I definitely feel like if I could give back in that way, whatever.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Charlene, so much for taking some time and escaping your family a little bit. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in. And I can't wait until this is all over and we get to do some shows again. Yay! And work together again. And again, thank you so much for your time today. And we'll talk to you soon.
All right, bye. Love you.
Bye.